So hopefully you've spent some time practicing the knit stitch and the purl stitch. When I first started Portuguese knitting, I had blown out my right thumb, ironically knitting on a plane for about 7 hours straight on the way to Portugal. When I was there, I kept seeing people with yarn around their necks in knit shops, but they were never actually knitting. So I thought that was just how they were holding it as they were helping people. And I couldn't knit the whole trip because my right thumb was done. I got home, my brain could not figure out continental knitting. It just made it explode. So I was trying to figure out how I could still knit with this bum thumb. And I read an article about ergonomics of knitting, and Portuguese was listed as the most ergonomic way of knitting. So at the time, I could not find any local knit shops that had classes. I finally found a class on craftsy.com taught by the wonderful Andrea Wong. If you want to really deep dive and learn from an absolute expert, her classes, she has at least 2 of them on Craftsy, are incredible. So I did her classes and I did not let myself work on any projects for about a month. I just swatched over and over and over, practicing all the things from her video to really get myself comfortable with Portuguese. And ever since then, every project I have done has been Portuguese style. So thank you, Andrea Wong. You're amazing. Right now we're going to do increases, decreases, this kind of fancier stitches that you're going to see a lot in patterns and you need to know how to do. They're a little bit different with Portuguese. The order I'm going to do makes sense for how to teach them. Hopefully you'll see that. But it seems a little bit out of order and haphazard, but I promise there's a reason. So the first one we're going to do is just purl 2 together. So my last stitch was a knit, but to make it a purl, I want to bring that yarn to the front. And then I'm just going to purl 2 together. Put it in through 2 stitches. Over with your thumb, let go, and finish. Pretty easy. Pretty similar to what you normally do. Now, to get back to knit, take that yarn, pop it to the back, use that left thumb. If you need to, go purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. So now we're going to knit through 2 stitches, knit 2 together. So again, just like normal, through 2 stitches, but remember we're bringing it straight to the front, putting the yarn over and finishing. Our next one is knit through the back loop. So you kind of turn your needles, going through the back loop just like you normally would. Now you have 2 options here. If I was doing a twisted rib, if I was doing a twisted rib, I would go in, pop it to the front, then put it to the back and finish my stitch after I wrapped it. So a twisted rib, again, you go in through the back, bring it to the front. Now, if your pattern is not one where you have twisted stitches regularly, then you don't want that stitch to get stretched out when you bring it to the front, right? Because that is definitely stretching that stitch out a bit. So if it's just a one-off, I have a hat pattern that I like to do that you do a couple here and there to get a twist between cables, but you're not consistently doing it all the way around. So I don't want that stitch to get stretched. So sometimes I will come in through the back loop if it's just a one-off, and I will do a little cheat. I use my right index finger, and it's kind of like a throw. So I bring that yarn around the back needle. I hold onto it, and I kind of hold it onto the needle so it doesn't go, so it doesn't get loose on me. I finish my stitch, and then I let go. So again, that little cheat, coming through the back like you normally would through the back loop, cheater finger, hold it in place, finish your stitch, let go. The next one is knit through the front back, the increase. So that one, again, we come through the front, do our normal Portuguese knit. Remember, we're not going to take this off for knit through the front back. We're now going to roll it, go through the back of that same loop. And I don't want this stretched out, so I'm going to use that cheater finger. Come in, finish. Show you that one again. Knit through the front, don't take it off. Come in through the back of the same one, cheater finger, and complete the stitch. Next is the decrease slip, slip, knit. So we slip as if to knit, slip as if to knit. Shove that left needle into the front of those two stitches. And again, I use the cheater finger here. For me, I just find that's easier. Play with it. If you want to rustle it and come to the front and use your Portuguese thumb, do that. This is just the way that I have found is most comfortable for me. The last thing I want to show you is a yarn over. If you've been practicing and swatching, you may have discovered if you were going back and forth between knits and purls and doing a ribbing, that you had a lot of yarn overs and increases that you weren't expecting. So to do a yarn over in Portuguese is very simple. If my next stitch is a knit stitch, I'm going to put the yarn in a purl position. Now, if I do a knit stitch, I am making a yarn over along with my knit stitch. See how I just made a yarn over here? So you put it in the wrong position, put it as if to purl, do a knit, you end up with a knit stitch. Same thing happens if you try to do a purl and you have your yarn in the knit position. Purl, and you just made a yarn over. If you are doing lace, I'm going to take this one out because that kind of yarn over doesn't work very well. If you are doing lace, you sometimes have a double yarn over or even a triple yarn over. So in that case, you're going to put your yarn in the wrong position, and then you're going to wrap it around that needle. You still want to make sure it's ending in the wrong position. So I've made one yarn over here. My yarn is in the wrong position. I do a knit, and I have made 2 yarn overs. So however many yarn overs it wants you to make, if it's a 5 yarn over stitch, you would wrap it 4 times, put your yarn in the wrong position, do your knit, and you would end up with 5 yarn overs. So one more time, double yarn over, wrong position, wrap, knit, and there are my 2 yarn overs right there.